Roots. Greetings, fellow Watford fans. Omar here, and it's time now for another Orns midweek focus on West Ham versus Watford as we get ready for that Premier League game that takes place on Tuesday at London Stadium. Watford come into the game with no new injury worries. That is very good news for the new man in charge, Roy Hodgson, as the gaffer seeks to get a victory in this game. His second game in charge for Watford. It will not be easy at West Ham. West Ham coming off the game where they didn't play particularly well against Kidderminster. That is an understatement, but they managed to scrape through with a very, very late goal in extra time to give West Ham a lead, and a lead they would never relinquish at the end of that game. It was very close to the end of the game. And West Ham go through to the next round of the FA Cup. West Ham, by the way, come into this game without two of their players, Masuaku injured and Lanzini injured. But West Ham have a very deep squad, and even though they all played in the game against Kidderminster, I bet you they will be ready for this game coming up against us on Tuesday. They will have back Mikhail Antonio. That will be a big boost for West Ham. Watford will have back Emmanuel Dennis, who, of course, sat out the game against Burnley with the suspension from the Norwich game on those two yellow cards he received in it. And Watford will also have back perhaps maybe a player or two who has not started in these games lately. Watford, of course, just playing on Saturday against Burnley could well mix things up a little bit in that starting lineup, but I don't think Roy Hodgson will change that lineup too much at all. Maybe he'll put Imran Louza in there instead of one of the other midfielders and see what kind of creativity he can bring, because he is a creative player who likes to keep the ball moving and has some good skills on and off the ball when he is in and out of possession. We'll see how that shapes up, whether or not Roy will make a tweak here or there. But certainly, I think Kayembe, I would hope that he stays in this side tomorrow. I would also look to see that you'll have the SKK group in full effect. They have been so good since they've come in, both all three of them, Samir and of course Kamara and Kayembe, as I just mentioned, and hopefully Samuel Kalu will be in the mix as well. We will see about that. He was not named to the squad in this previous game against Burnley, but maybe, just maybe, he might feature against West Ham. Certainly, though, as I said, Emmanuel Dennis raring to go, I'm sure, having sat around now for about 3 weeks since his last game. I bet you he cannot wait to get going, and we hope that he will. I think the key in this game for Watford is finishing. I mean, the defensive work continues, and Roy Hodgson established that base with the team in their defensive display against a very rugged and rough and disjointed Burnley performance. And a rugged Burnley side typically tries to throw as many set pieces as possible to disrupt the defense. And I think Watford handled that very well the other night. The question is, can they do that against a West Ham side that has a lot more attacking options and threats going forward? West Ham have been very dangerous this season, have been a little bit up and down lately in the league, but they certainly will be looking to put that all right at the London Stadium, a place, by the way, where Watford seem to play better than they do when they play West Ham at the Vic. Remember the last time that Watford faced West Ham at the Vic back in late December of 2021, West Ham came from behind to score four unanswered goals and run out 4-1 winners on that night, the last game of 2021 for Watford. But this time it could be different, as Watford, who have played better, as I said, at London Stadium of late, could be looking certainly to get some revenge and some payback after that performance last December. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Recent years, Watford have done well there. They won 2-0 there the last time they played there in 2019. Lost, actually, that's not the last time they played there. They lost 3-1 in the last time they played there. That was in 2020. And they had previously had won games there, including the 2-0 win that they got there in 2019. Now, Ben Foster that night was in goal, and he was stupendous. And looking to see that Ben Foster keeps his place, I expect he will, in the game tomorrow as he gets ready for another big contest. This one against West Ham. They don't have far to travel, Watford. It's roughly, 20 miles or so as they head to London to take on West Ham. And it should be a very good contest indeed. It looks to see that I think what Watford's strategy is going to be is to do what they did against Burnley and then go on the counter attack. But this time, what Watford must do is finish better, as I've alluded to. It's very important here that Watford get as many chances as you can as they can, because on the road you do not get very many of them. And if Watford can execute successfully on the finishing end, they will, I think, have at least a point here in this game. Now, West Ham, of course, do have some very potent attacking threats. Of course, Jared Bowen. Of course, you've got Declan Rice in midfield who can go up front and score a goal for you, as he did the other day against Kidderminster. You obviously have the likes of Mikel Antonio. Mikel Antonio is going to be an absolute pain for Watford, and that is the danger man that Watford will have to focus on. And then you've got other players like Saeed Benrahma, who used to play at Brentford. He is a player who's beginning to find his way. He's scored some very good goals and someone who is always a threat. So West Ham have multiple options that Watford will have to deal with. It takes another round of dogged defending from this Watford group. They will have to stay disciplined, and also they will have to be committed to moving the ball forward as quickly as they can. I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, if Hodgson uses a five across in the midfield. I suspect that could happen. May go 4-5-1. And that's the kind of thing you'd expect against the Manchester City side when you're trying to, especially against the Manchester City side away from home, when you are trying to doggedly keep the score down and look for a smash and grab against a team that is world class like City, which is a tough task anyway, because City love to hold onto the ball. But as far as West Ham's concerned, I think Roy Hodgson may, if he does anything different, he may make it a 4-5-1. He could. I think you're either going to see tomorrow a 4-5-1 or a 4-3-3. I think it could be a 4-5-1. Dennis being the person up front. The only issue there, though, is that when you're bringing balls into Dennis, you're probably not going to be lumping the ball into the air, because those West Ham defenders, like Craig Dawson, who used to play for Watford, of course, are going to just eat that up all day long. They will just head that ball out. So that means that if you're going to go 4-5-1, you're going to need to move the ball quickly and move it along the pitch on the floor of West Ham's stadium. Because if you start lumping that ball forward, it's going to be an easy thing for these defenders of West Ham to clear it out. So these are the things to look at tomorrow. Look at the formation, because I think the formation, how Roy sets up this team to face West Ham tomorrow, I think will be important. You'll tell you right away what the strategy is going to be. If it's a 4-5-1, it is going to be absolutely to defend out against West Ham and see if they can grab something on the counter. If it's 4-3-3, I think they're going to be a bit more attack minded and see what they can do there. But whatever that formation is, the defense comes first as far as I'm concerned. And of course, it is important. The wins now are at a premium for this team. Every one of these remaining 17 games is a cup final for Watford. And so let that continue tomorrow. They will have to do something against West Ham. And that means to get 3 points, if at all possible. But if you're not going to get 3 points, be sure to get one. Please get one at minimum. It will be a very interesting game indeed. Of course, Watford have not forgotten the 4-1 defeat in December at the Vic. And I think that Watford will play a lot better than they did in the second half of that game. In fact, for much of that game against West Ham back in December, Watford was second best, even though it was Watford who scored first through Dennis. We'll see what happens tomorrow, but the formation to me will be key, and the defensive discipline, as ever, will be the thing. And don't forget, take your chances, Watford. Take every chance you can going forward, and let's not have any wild shots at goal. It's important to sting the palms of a very good goalkeeper like Lucas Fabianski, but it is important that when you've got men to the left and right of you, please pass the ball off to them. Let yourself stretch out the pitch, widen the pitch, go with width, and then cross the ball into the box. Do not take these wild shots from long distance, because I don't think against the West Ham side that is a very good strategy. That's it for this edition of the Orns Midweek Focus.